Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Gaming with me, Tony Mo. Welcome back to another Noob Tips episode here inside of Halo 5 Guardians. Today we're going to be talking about Warzone, Halo's biggest and newest mode, and frankly, one of my favorite modes actually within Guardians. It's a complete step away from what we've come to know from Halo. It actually takes a lot of elements from things like Titanfall. It's a very PvE, PvP focused multiplayer experience, one that I've particularly fallen in love with. Now, Warzone does come in two flavors. There's Warzone and Warzone Assault, which is a more rapid, quick version of Warzone. But the tips and tricks that we're going to talk about here today will pretty much apply for both modes, but the focus is going to be the standard Warzone mode, which frankly is the mode that I recommend the most. To me, it really is what Warzone is supposed to be about. We've got big, large, open-scale, conquest, capture type objectives. Now, right off the bat, the first thing that you need to know is just how does Warzone work, right? As a new player, what does it mean to you? What should I be doing? Where should I be going? So each team is going to go ahead and spawn in their home base. Upon spawning, they're going to have to defend their home base from some sort of an AI attack. So this will be a PvE portion. You're going to want to eliminate the AI in the area as quickly as possible because you cannot capture your home base and move on to capturing the next set of objectives until those AI are cleared out. So work with your team, annihilate them as quickly as possible. Performing assassinations on Forerunner Knights and so on and so forth can be on Forerunner soldiers can be a very good way to eliminate them quickly, but you're definitely going to need some teamwork because they are powerful. They will take you out. Keep an eye out for the prowlers, the dogs that you see on the ground. They will tear you up. Like, they're seriously no joke. Don't mess around with anything in this game when it comes to PvE. Just because you're in a PvP setting, don't think that these enemies are weak. They're not. Think legendary mode. They will seriously mess you up. So once you've done that, you can move on, and depending on the map that you're on, start to capture multiple other locations. Each team is going to have one initial location right outside of their home spawn. Obviously, it's important to go ahead and capture that. But if you're working with some sort of a larger number of teams, or you notice that there is a large amount of people already capturing that first point, I strongly advise you push forward to capture the center point. Each map is going to have a center point that is worth a lot more than the two smaller points, and is also just a much more valuable point on the map because it gives you a secondary location to spawn vehicles outside of your home base. This is a huge thing. It means that the time to get a vehicle into the main battle is going to be much more quickly than if you had to spawn it straight out of your home base. An invaluable resource throughout the course of the entire game, whether you're attacking other members of the team or PvE objectives. Those vehicles are going to come in very, very handy. So try and make a push for the center of the map and capture that objective and hold it. Honestly, that is one of the most important objectives on the map. If you have the capability to do so, and you feel that things are going really well, there's definitely always a reason to try and capture all of the locations on the map. Doing that will allow you to have access to the enemy's core, which you can then go in and destroy. That's the quickest way to win the game, but I'm going to be honest, out of all the Warzone matches that I played, which is quite a lot, that's only happened maybe 2 or 3 times. It can happen, but you really have to be stomping out the other team, and you have to have an excessive amount of coordination. If it does, go for it, destroy the enemy core, bring in all of the heavy weaponry that you can, and go ahead and take that thing down. If not, your main focus throughout the course of a Warzone match is going to be to eliminate those PvE objectives before the other team does. I've seen matches go by in like 5-10 minutes because the other team refused to acknowledge how important those PvE objectives are. They mean everything. They are huge point scoring objectives for your team. Do not let the enemy team have them, no matter how small they seem. Capture them all if possible. Kill them all. You're going to want to make sure that you have some sort of a strategy when you go into this. Soloing it is not recommended because there's a strong chance that the other team could come and actually steal those kills from you with a couple simple BR shots. You're going to want a large amount of team members dealing a large amount of DPS to drop these targets as quickly as possible to ensure that you or one of your teammates gets the kill. The worst thing you can have happen is to drain, a legendary target like a Wraith tank or something like that, and have one other guy from the other team just snipe it with a sniper rifle or a beam rifle or something like that. That's really gonna suck. It's a part of Warzone. Get used to it. The way to counter that is, as I said, focus on high DPS when engaging these targets. It's not the game's fault that you let that guy steal it. It's your fault that you let that guy steal it. Don't ever blame the game for that. There is always a way to prevent that from happening. Now, there's a lot of other layers and components to Warzone. So let's talk about the rec system and how it functions inside of Warzone, because this, of course, is one of the other very important components to success in Warzone. As you level up your character, as you get more kills within Warzone, you're going to unlock different levels of recs. Those different levels of recs allow you to use different weapons, sniper rifles, different vehicles, you know, so on and so forth. And you'll see that as you play the game, that'll become something that is more aware to you. Now, the actual points that you have to then spend on those recs is time-based. It's a time-based recharge system. So you can't just go ahead and use like 50 bajillion recs within one match that are all like level 9. It's just not going to happen. So you're going to have to be very careful as to how, what, and when you actually deploy a powerful rec or even a low-end rec. Now, some of them are going to be permanent at rec level 3. You're going to be able to equip a battle rifle if you have it unlocked. I strongly recommend you do that like immediately. Swapping out your pistol and getting a BR on a larger scale, you know, battle situation like this is very, very vital to your success. But really, you're going to want to consider the situation. Honestly, power weapons are best reserved for eliminating PvE targets. Now, I'm not going to say that you shouldn't grab a sniper rifle and go absolutely, you know, crazy on the other team and just decimate them, because that is going to allow you to increase your rec level. It's definitely going to benefit your team. You're going to get more requisition points at the end. But really, the focus of Warzone here, let's keep this in mind at all times, is to beat the other team by points. And getting a lot of enemy kills, PvP kills, isn't really the way that you're going to do that. You could have all the PvP kills, you know, in the entire match, 100 kills, but if your team doesn't hold any objectives and you're not eliminating any of those PvE targets, you're simply not going to win. So that should always be your focus, and I keep that in mind when deploying some sort of a requisition weapon, especially a more heavy weapon. You know, if I'm going to take on something like a railgun or a rocket launcher, a hydra launcher, I usually time it and consider it. Honestly, the BR is going to be just fine. You know, your BR, your assault rifle, your Magnum, use those to clear out your enemies. Use those to help your team push into bases. You don't always need a power weapon. Is a sword handy sometimes for wiping out something, you know, like the garage on one of the maps, or, you know, the main core on one of the maps? Yeah, it is. But again, be cautious as to how you use this. Of course, if you're playing with a large number of people, it's much more easy to coordinate who's spending the rec points on what in any given situation. So there's no doubt that playing with a very large team, as we're doing in this video, we actually had 6 people playing, does have its benefits. But just be careful how you deploy those recs. Don't just go all willy-nilly spending 5-6 rec points and burning them away and then going ahead and dying. That is also something that you need to recognize. If you do go ahead and spend, you know, 7 rec points on that big juicy sniper rifle and then die 3 seconds later, you better hope that one of your teammates picks that thing up or you manage to get back to it, because it will have been 100% wasted otherwise. That is also a small tip that I strongly recommend you keep in mind. When you see someone carrying a power weapon on your team, if they go down, don't let that power weapon go to waste. Make every opportunity to pick that up and use the rest of its ammunition. There's nothing worse than having a teammate call in something like a hydra launcher when you're attacking the enemy core just to have it go to waste. Definitely something you're going to want to keep in mind. So this sort of covers all the core basics of, you know, winning and surviving in Warzone, right? It all sounds very simple, and that's because it is. It's just a matter of remembering what's important and when it's important. Things are going to shift throughout the course of the game. You may need to remove your focus from, you know, capturing those targets to go ahead and actually eliminate a PvE objective. You may need to go around and backdoor the enemy to capture their secondary base to allow you to push into the center base. There's a lot of layers of strategy and tactics that go on here, and of course every map is going to be different. Now, if you manage to have a really, really close game, the end of the match usually is sort of wrapped up by the Warden Eternal showing up. So if you played the campaign, those crazy Forerunner guys with the swords, yeah, one of them is going to show up and they're going to be worth an excessive amount of points. That can often be a turning tide for a team to make a comeback, or, you know, pretty much the best possible way for a team that is already winning to close up the match. All resources should be focused on Warden Eternal. Honestly, if you're at that point in the match where Warden Eternal shows up and your team really isn't doing that well and you feel like you need to be capturing objectives, just give it up anyways, because you're probably going to lose. Just go for the Warden Eternal. If you can manage to take that down, you could actually have some pretty significant comebacks, and I've seen them happen, and that's probably one of my favorite things about Warzone, is just how close the matches can be. The match you're watching right now is an insanely close match. I've had matches where we've been down 500 points and we've come back because we've shifted our focus to those PvE objectives. We've made sure that we've eliminated all of those different legendary targets that have spawned, and we won the battle for the Warden Eternal. That is a huge, huge thing. Now, every team's going to have their own strategy, within the strategy of taking down those PvE objectives. The Warden Eternal is a very high damage, high health boss. One of the things that I found best when going ahead to eliminate him was making sure that you had somebody on point who was ready with an extremely powerful power weapon. The saw actually works really great for chewing down these targets. Sniper rifles, rocket launchers, the incinerator cannon. Have them on board and make sure that they have a live magazine ready to go when that health bar gets really, really low. And then key on the point to tell them to go ahead, okay, start initiating damage. Multiple teammates in this situation, of course, is going to be invaluable. We've taken down the Warden Eternal very rapidly. We've done some epic steals by running multiple sniper rifles, rocket launchers, and saw combos, making use of the vehicles. This would be a good time to bring out that Scorpion tank. Let's be honest, the Scorpion tank isn't that great of a tool if you're just planning on trying to mow down the other team. Getting a lot of PvP focus kills. What it is good at is PvE stuff. It's good at helping you take down those hunters, taking down those wraiths, taking down those AI banshees. This game has more of a PvE focus than most people will acknowledge, and the people that can acknowledge that are the people that are going to win. That is Warzone in a nutshell, my friends. Quite a little to talk about. Honestly, one of my favorite modes that they've brought to Halo. I've had a ton of fun with this. It reminds me very much of the PvP mode, the large-scale PvP mode that we saw back in the days of Reach, just kind of with a lot of different spins taken on it, and I thoroughly enjoy what they've done with it. I'm not sure how I feel about the rec system 100%, and it's the way it's been implemented. I think that they could have done a better job of it. I don't really like the random concept of unlocking cosmetics through packs. I think it works inside of Warzone for the actual requisitions, but having to, just constantly rank up, get requisition points at the random opportunity to unlock a piece of armor, I find it slightly frustrating. I don't know why, but we'll talk about my thoughts on Rex at another point in time. If you guys have any other questions for me regarding Warzone, how to be successful in it, if there's anything that you feel like I glossed over and you'd like to, sort of nag me about down in the comment section below, go ahead, feel free to ask me, and I will definitely try and give you an answer on that. I hope you guys are having a fun time enjoying Halo 5 Guardians. This is going to be an insane end of year just set up for first-person shooter releases. We've got Call of Duty coming out soon, Fallout shortly after that. I'm going to be covering all of those games, and I'm going to be continuing to cover Halo here on the channel. If there's any piece of content that you would like to see, noob tips or otherwise, regarding Halo 5 Guardians, you'd like to see me cover it, feel free to give me a recommendation down in the comment section below. I'll definitely take it into consideration, and I will see you in the next one.
Excellent work, Spartan. That's a victory.